All right. Welcome to Coffee with Coaches. I got my coffee today. Got Shannon here. I'm Heike. Awesome.
I'm Shannon.
We're both coaches, and we have a really good topic today. So today we're going to talk about really motivation doesn't come to you. You actually have to generate it, or is motivation altogether all crap? I don't know. What is it with motivation?
Is motivation crap?
I don't know. We're all struggling with it. Let's face it. We're all struggling with it. So today in this session, in this episode, we are talking about motivation, and what can we do about it? Or is it what is it all thing? So let's go.
I go back and forth about this. I think this is an interesting conversation because I've read so many books. I've seen so many. Yeah, I mean, all the books about motivation, all the books about habits and and I forget, what is it? Anyway, I keep thinking, I think motivation is just crap. I think it's shit. That's what I've come to. And maybe, again, it goes back to maybe it's just my hormones and it's going up and down right now and I'm tired, but I do question motivation. I think there's a lot to be said about habits and the importance of instilling habits into your day, because here's my take. I think that when you are new to something, like I'm going to start a new workout routine, or I'm going to start cooking, or I'm going to start doing this, it's new, you're going to be motivated. And I think there's a time period that's like, I think they've talked about like how long that motivation lasts. Maybe it's inspiration. I don't know. But I think at some point that ends. And I'm going to say it's a couple days, maybe a couple weeks. And I think that's over. And at that point, your habits are going to take over. So if for me, I was motivated to start a new workout routine, to start lifting more weights. I was motivated to get very healthy. And now it's just part of my day, part of my week. It's part of my day. And if I don't do it, I know I can see the effects. I can feel the effects. And it's just part of my routine now, part of my habits. And the same thing goes for the certain things that I need to do every day for my work, where I have a schedule of what I need to do every day. And that has had to become a habit of mine of doing those things. And if it's only this one little thing that I do every day, then that's it. But if it's more, great. If it's less, then I'm not doing my habits. That makes sense.
Yeah, no, I think habit is a huge one. So I got here. I'm telling you what the definition of motivation is, right? It's the reason or reasons one has for acting or behaving in a particular way. So it's really our why, our reasons. So here's the thing. Habits, I think, are extremely important, and that's a part that comes in a later block. So motivation, really, the problem is that people think like, oh, I'm not motivated, and that's it, right? Or what, like there's just either motivation comes to me, I have it, or I don't have it.
Right.
But that's where the crap part is. That's not true. The truth is that motivation has to be generated. It's not something that's just there. We expect it to be there. And then we say when it's not there, and then we're all like, oh, I'm not motivated, and I can't.
Like it's supposed to feel a certain way.
It's supposed to feel it. So that's just a misconception, I think, of what really motivation is. And motivation is not something that just is there. Yes, sometimes we didn't notice it because we just motivated to do it. We don't think why we're motivated. So it feels like it's just there, but that's not how it works. The way it really works is, as the definition says too, there needs to be a reason. If we don't have a reason, there is no motivation. So the problem is it doesn't come to you just out of the sky, falling down the sky.
Yeah, it's not just going to drop into your lap.
Or the people, oh, that person, she's always motivated. No, she has habits, she has structure, and she knows how to generate motivation. And that's
and she knows so she knows her why as to
Yes.
why she's doing it.
Yes.
And there are times when it's hard to tap into your why.
Yeah, that's why you need coaches. That's what we do as coaches, right? That's the whole point. That's when we struggle, right? When we're struggling and we're spinning and we can't generate the motivation, that's when a coach comes in, right? With a giving us a different perspective because they ask specific questions, right? We are both certified high performance coaches. We are trained to ask specific questions in a way to help our clients really connect again with the why, really dig deeper and assess what's going on to generate motivation. So for anybody listening, if you're feeling not motivated, it's not there's something wrong with you. You just did not tap into the right alleys to generate motivation. And so with that said, it's really number one, too, is first assess. There's always assess your situation. What's going on? Why do I feel not motivated? Right? Is it because I don't have a good reason? I don't have my why. I don't know. I don't have that drive.
Like, why am I doing this?
Why am I doing that? Maybe that's that. It might be your health. It might be hormonal. Yes, we do know now that hormones play a huge role that you need to recognize. Is it because of hormones? Is it because of you could be on medication that have side effects that or being tired?
And I would like to say I don't mean hormones just for women, because men have hormones too.
Yes, men have hormones too, so it can be anything. But or it could be lack of sleep. You probably notice too, when you're tired, it's much harder to generate the motivation. You can have a big why, but if you're tired, it's just simply because your body is exhausted, your brain isn't recovered. And when your brain has to spend so much on just functioning,
staying awake,
not coffee,
while your children are talking to you about Minecraft.
There you go. Your brain has a much harder time to generate motivation. Okay, because it's all regulated by the brain. So number one is to really find out where are you at, right? What's hindering, and then address those situations, right? If you're not sleeping, maybe you need to really work on your sleep, and that will help it. But most of the time, it's first off digging really deep in what is my why? Why am I doing what I want to do, right? So if I have a project, why is this project? Why am I doing this? But also what is in it for me with that project? For example, do I get a specific value from it? Is it, it could be, hey, I'm going to get a promotion at work, or, does it make me feel better? Whatever. It can be intrinsic or extrinsic factors. So intrinsic meaning anything, how you're going to feel that gives you a value finishing the project, right? Or it could be extrinsic because you're going to get a big bonus if you finish that,
right,
particular job or project or something. And that could be your motivation, right? That's your extrinsic motivation there.
Right.
So really identifying the why you're doing it, and really identifying is where is it touching to me? And as I always say, there needs to be an emotional connection.
Yeah.
Sometimes if the money isn't enough, like if it's let's say it's a $10 thing, you're going to go, yeah, why am I doing that? If they're going to give you $10,000, well, that's another story. Hey, I might be really motivated to work on that because there is a stronger connection.
Right.
The $10,000 means something to you because maybe you wanted to buy something that you couldn't so far, or whatever it be, right? Or gives you a security. So there's some emotional connection, whatever. The external or internal, there needs to be emotional connection to why you're doing that.
Right.
That is the biggest first step, and that's where you really need a coach most of the time, or you really need to dig deeper and really journaling. We've talked journaling a lot over the other sessions as well, can be a great tool, but oftentimes it's really asking the right questions.
I think that's a really good point to bring up, and something that I find with the women I work with who are usually in the midst of grief, it's why do they want to get out of bed? Like, why should they get out of bed?
Yeah.
Why should they work on their health. And, it's really tapping into, well, who do you want to be later? How do you want to show up later for if you get pregnant again, or if you do end up having children, how do you want to show up? And I think one of the best questions to get to this that I love to ask is, what is worth fighting for?
Yep. Love that.
And that's, I think, what is worth fighting for this week? What is worth fighting for in this moment? What is worth fighting for in this year? When I ask myself that question, it really, I think it really digs deep into, yeah, what am I fighting for right now? Am I fighting for my sanity? Right now, I'm fighting for my sanity.
Yeah, and I actually along the way learned one big thing for me was when I struggled with my health, right? And it was all about just trying to get through the next day because I was just exhausted. I was in pain.
Mhm.
It was all
Mhm.
about how can I get through the next day? And I didn't have a bigger vision anymore. And one huge component, I think, too, is if you have not had a bigger vision anymore beyond, the
Right.
future,
Yeah.
it's very helpful. And that's honestly was a huge part of my shift out of my pain cycle that I'd had, but also emotionally to and then moving forward in my business and it kind of had that ripple effect was really thinking of something bigger again. So just having kind of thinking about, and when I'm saying vision, I'm not saying, oh, I want to do this in 5 years and just having like a list of that, but really going like, how do I really want my year to look like in a 1
Yeah.
year, 2 years? Do I want to really be like this
Mm-hmm.
next year, or do I
Right.
want to have a change next year? Do I want this to be, different? And how different do I want it? Do I want to wake up the same way I'm doing now?
Right.
Or
How do I
what,
want to feel?
how do I want to feel? How do I really want my life to look like in a year from now or 2 years from now? Whatever time frame is one. When I was in the real rut of it, thinking like 2 years felt like so far that for
Mm-hmm.
me it was
Yeah.
kind of like the 1 year mark was what I could handle. I'm like that thinking, because I was thinking just always just next day or the rest of the week kind of thing. So, but really sitting down, and I had to do it multiple times because I kind of mislearned how to do that. I kind of, because of so many years of pain, on chronic pain, I didn't know how to do it anymore. I lost a little bit the skill. So I had to literally, the first couple times felt really uncomfortable because I'm like, in my head, and this is another component, I kept having these limiting beliefs. Like, what if I'm not going to get there? What if I
Yeah.
don't heal? What if I don't get? So what's the point, right? So
Yeah.
like the limiting beliefs kept coming up and interfering with me
Yeah.
being able to visualize. So, but with practice and really shifting the limiting beliefs, and that's another component for a second, but shifting those and being able to visualize, how do I want my life to look like? Who do I, like you said, what is it worth fighting for? Who do I want to show up for? With how do I want to be in a year
Mm-hmm.
from now is a fundamental component. So if you don't know that, then it's very hard. You will be able to generate motivation for a small project, but the overall, you need to have somehow a goal.
I think it's hard though when you're like, I'm just thinking about the women I work with who have just had, a lot of loss, and they don't know. There's so much,
Yep.
so many unanswered questions and so much instability as to, okay, well, I don't know if I can get pregnant again. I don't know if I'm going to be able to carry a pregnancy. I don't know what my life is going to look like if I can't. And so it's getting over
Yep.
those unknowns. And I think really examining both sides of the
Yep.
coin. Like,
Yep.
okay, well, if you do get pregnant, how do you want your life to look? And if you can't get pregnant,
Yep.
or if this happens again, how do you want your life to look? And I think it's hard to bring yourself out of that and really like
Yes.
step away and look at it from both sides, because it's easy to get into that spiral of, well, I don't know.
Yep. No, like I said, it took a while, and you're right. That was essentially what I did. Thank you. I wasn't even aware of that. That was essentially what I did. I visualized the best case scenario, but I also visualized, okay, what if I'm not, but I still, between here and where I want to go, there was still a little shift, even though, let's say, I'm not pain-free or
Right.
may not get pregnant or whatever somebody's reason is. How does my life look like still better than today?
Right. Right. It's so, and I have a client who, you know, she had a miscarriage and she had a very hard time getting pregnant again. And so for 2 years, what we worked on was, how do you want to feel? How do you want your life to look like now? You know, we don't know what the future holds. We never know what the future holds.
No, we don't. We can't plan it.
So it's real. So it's just looking at, okay, how do I envision feeling, and how do I envision my life looking, and how do I get there? Like, what's the first step to get there? Again, what's worth fighting for?
Yeah. Now, and with that said, 100%, if you're struggling like I did with pain, your clients with miscarriages, or whatever it be for somebody else listening, understand when you are in a really special situation, you do need help.
Yeah.
I ended up having a coach, and that helped me tremendously. I know you coach, so like
I had a
coaching,
coach to help me through too.
therapist, whatever it be for what you need, outside help can tremendously help to overcome that little shift that's needed in the beginning. So if you're having a hard time visualizing yourself in a better place in a year from now, that's kind of like your sign you do
Yeah.
need outside help, right?
Yeah.
So if you,
Absolutely.
and we've been there too. It's not like, I know you had miscarriages, you've been there, you know how it feels. I've been there with my chronic pain. It is a sign when you struggle with that. It's a sign, it's time really to get some outside help, whatever that be, coach, therapist, what have you. But one other thing, big thing is like too, you just said the next step is really, so once we've identified it and we know what we want, and we know what we kind of envision our future to look like, what limiting beliefs are there? There's
Yeah.
always a limiting. I had 100% limiting beliefs on, you know, kind of like
Daily.
how do we overcome these limiting beliefs? First, identifying, of course. Again, coaches can give great perspectives, but reframing the limiting beliefs. Once we know we have a limiting belief, sometimes it's fears, right? So it can be the fear of, I can't do this, or will I ever get better? Is there even will it be greener the grass than now? Or is it something, if I'm moving forward now, am I losing something else, right? We have different fears, right? So fear can be one factor why we have limiting beliefs, or it can be just also the history. Like
Something that's ingrained in
I
us.
tried so many things. I've tried every supplement that, you know, I had chronic bladder infection, so I tried everything that wouldn't be antibiotics, and nothing worked. I spent just thousands of dollars, and I tried and tried and tried. And at some point, there were like times where people suggested stuff, and I'm like, I'm tired right now, thank you. I'll put it in the parking lot. Next time I'm feeling that I have enough energy to generate the motivation, I'm going to give it another try, not to give up. And I think that's another component too, is having especially when we're dealing with something more severe, not the day-to-day kind of motivation challenge, but when we're dealing with something more dramatic, traumatic, is really identifying the limiting belief, and then also along the way, what do I need to do to, because there's always, I'm motivated, I generated the motivation, right? And then it sets down. And these setbacks are really hard. And so I ended up having a mantra that I had for myself. So I usually also create that with my clients if they're struggling with something specific. So mine was, well, I reminded myself at some point, I got to the point where I said, it will not say on my tombstone, she died suffering and pain her whole life.
Oh,
So for me, that was my real drive. I'm like, it's not gonna
yep,
say that on my tombstone. I absolutely will not have that on.
yep.
It will say that she lived a happy life. So
That's really important to, so that when your limiting belief arises, right, that you have something to tell yourself to counteract it. For
yeah,
me right now, like, I've mentioned in the past, it's, perimenopause, and I keep telling myself, oh, these things are happening because I'm going through menopause, and these things, this is what's happening to me. And I have to stop myself and say, no, like, I refuse to go down
yeah,
because of perimenopause. Like, I'm not going to let it take me down. I
yeah.
am going to continue to have energy. And whether that means, like, I just have to figure out, tweak a lot of things, but that's what I keep telling myself. I'm like, this isn't going to take over my life. It cannot take over my life. I have too many other things to do.
Yeah, and exactly. So there's a fine line where we know maybe the cause, right?
Mm-hmm.
To not make it an excuse. There's a
Right.
fine line where we need to figure out, is the reason why we're lacking the motivation there, and having a hard time generating, is it, yes, the cause, like we said, can be hormones, can be lack of sleep, can be whatever. It cannot be an excuse. It means we're going to have to address that as good as we can, whatever needs to be addressed. And then we still need to move forward. And that brings us to another really, and I love this because it's brain science. We need success. We need any little small success, because here's the thing. Oftentimes I caught myself too. Of course, I had big ambitions for the day, and then I didn't feel good, right? Because of my pain.
Right.
And I wasn't able to do that. And then at the end of the day, I beat myself up. I'm like, oh God, I didn't get this done, didn't get that done, yada, yada, yada. And at the end of the day, it made me even feel worse. But we can tap into really using neuroscience and turn that around by celebrating every little step. That means when we are figuring out, we have our goal and we'll make a plan, right? What are my milestones along the way? And what are like I call it like least minimum step to do.
Like a micro
step, depending on how you feel, right? Sometimes we make big steps, sometimes all we can do, depending how we feel in the moment, to generate energy. And actually it's proven with research, we can generate more motivation when we have certain chemical release. So dopamine plays a big
Yeah,
role.
I was just going to say, this dopamine,
Yeah.
right?
Yep, it's dopamine. Of course, there's more
Dopamine.
chemicals released. There's more, no, but there's more other chemicals released
Yeah.
too. That's not important. The important part is it is in the brain, and it does get released when we feel accomplished, when we feel like we've done something, and we celebrate ourselves. So actually making small steps. So let's say whatever goal I have for today, even if I don't finish it, but if I'm already saying, hey, if I'm going to get started and at least work on it for 15 minutes,
Right.
that then I can say after 15 minutes, you know what? It wasn't done, but you know what? I started, because I had the choice to not do anything, but I chose to start. I chose to do 15 minutes on it. Yay me.
So isn't there some, and I'm not going to get this completely right, but I believe I heard or read that if you start your day with doing something, completing a difficult task, that starts your day off with, is it dopamine and serotonin? And so you get that hit.
So here's the thing. It doesn't need to be difficult.
Just doing something.
Just do something.
Okay, but brushing my teeth isn't going to count.
No, because that is a given, right? That's
Right.
So here's the thing: is the brain reacts to things that are novel, right? When it's things that it got used to, like the brushing teeth, you're not even paying attention to. Now, what you could do is step up your brushing teeth to the new level, right? And say, hey, I'm today brushing really every teeth, really mindful. And now you created a novelty in that task. You can get a different dopamine release from that. But no, anything that the brain gets used to, whatever we do, right? That's the beauty of it, right? So that's why That's the whole point of learning a skill, right? We get good at it, and then it kind of comes effortless. It doesn't take much energy because we have the neural connection actually formed. So
Right.
there isn't that same dopamine release anymore. There's still chemical
Yeah.
release, but not necessarily it's the same. So it doesn't have to be extremely complicated, but it does have to be so it's not have to be super challenging or super intense, but it can be doing something just better,
Okay.
just stepping it up, just a little tweak to make it a little more novel is actually really so, but yes, doing something in the morning where you're already feeling that accomplishment. So
Right.
it's different, right? Yeah.
Because it carryovers through the day.
I am not feeling that accomplishment emptying the dishwasher in the morning. Sorry.
I am. Because I don't normally do it. If I do it, I'm like,
no, I'm just annoyed. I don't have as many family members in the house anymore that used to do it since they went to college.
yes.
Now I have to
Yes.
do it. So I'm just annoyed with it. But no, I mean, whatever it is, yes, a task in the morning absolutely sets the tone for the day. And if there's something that isn't, and it could be something that you dragged on for a couple of days, if you finish that, it may have been a challenging task, but because that was dragging on, and you can go, dang, I did it. And
yeah, because when I do something like that, like if I like reach out to someone that I've been like dreading, like sending an email or whatever, when I do that at the beginning of the day, I'm like, oh, look, I can do hard things.
well, and it's also, if it's like, we've been joking with my assistant too, like crossing out task, right? When you feel so good. So who gets to cross out the task?
Yeah.
So that's a key one. So and along the way, it's really important to celebrate these small accomplishments, because you want to kind of not do this once a day. You want to ideally do this multiple times a day, because research has shown when we get that dopamine release, when we accomplish something, it makes it actually in itself generates motivation. Because
it's interesting because I am terrible at celebrating myself, and I coach my clients to celebrate things, and I don't know if that's something that society has ingrained in us, that we're not supposed to celebrate, and it's, I don't know, consider it as arrogant, or I'm not saying I'm going to throw a party for myself because I emptied the dishwasher, though I think I deserve it.
I come over, let's party.
But like, I think that society has taught us, and maybe as women, maybe just as humans, that we shouldn't celebrate ourselves.
Yep.
And I'm starting to recognize more and more that the people who do celebrate themselves have more confidence.
Yeah, it's huge. I'm a recovering one on that one as well. I did not celebrate myself until 4 years ago.
Hey, that's better than me.
4 years ago when I started, and it was really awkward in the beginning.
Yeah.
Really felt weird. I mean, I celebrate my birthday, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like me, like acknowledging myself about the things that I have done. And one thing is, actually, my coach that I had at the time challenged me to write out all my accomplishments, from now back to, every decade. And so I journaled that down. And dang, I had never thought about it, because you kind of, in your wheel of life, and you
beat yourself down because you haven't done this, but look at all the other things that you have done.
All the other things that I've actually done. Oh my God. And so
it's a great idea.
So that was really eye-opening.
That's a great idea to either end a year or start a year.
Oh, absolutely.
To do like that last week before January.
I started doing that end of the year. So kind of usually around November, beginning of December, I now look back at the year, just this year, and I'll write out the accomplishments for the year. And that came out of, working on that. And I do in my planner, have also, every night, what am I celebrating today? What, like one accomplishment? What did I accomplish today? And one little thing, you know, if it is that email that you were supposed to do already for a week, or that call that was needed, or a conversation that you've been dreading, or whatever it be, it doesn't have to be, you know, a massive movement forward. Every little thing, celebrating yourself is really, and it's not about, you know, getting a cake or having a drink. It's really about you really go
internal
down and internally acknowledging yourself and feeling that you have done something and you're moving forward, thinking of like, really, this is a movement forward to like in the bigger picture, because it's small little steps. So that those are like key components really of generating, and we're talking generating motivation, because it's not
generating and maintaining.
Generating and maintaining, exactly. And from time to time, we need to reassess, right? Because things might be going to, you know, we got to, as you mentioned in the very beginning, we got to create the habit around generating this motivation to keep it going, keep that momentum going. And we constantly need to reassess and look at it going like, okay, how am I doing? I haven't celebrated myself lately. Let's pick that up again. You know, I keep slacking occasionally there too. And I'm like, okay, let's sit down again, do a little journaling in the evening and writing that down, or giving myself a little more credit for it. That is a key too. So
I love that. That's a great reminder.
Yeah. What did you love most about today's conversation? Besides the coffee?
And the company.
Always.
You know what? I like the celebrating because I'm really bad at it. And it's a good reminder to celebrate the small things.
Yeah. I really like what you pointed out with having a vision of your best self, but also having the vision on the basically, what if it doesn't work out? How is my life going to look then? And what do I do with that, rather than staying stuck in the limiting belief?
I mean, look at both sides of the coin.
Go look at both sides of the coin. So that was a good takeaway for me today. So love it.
Okay. Well, that was great.
Awesome, Shannon. I'll see you next week. So thanks everybody for watching till the end. And we see you again for the next episode with Coffee with Coaches.
Thank you.
Thank you.